Hey everyone, it's triplemangothreat, and today we're going over the top 10 underrated commanders that are less than $1. But before we get too far, I want to let you know there is merch available, and if you want to purchase any of these commanders, please click the link below. It really helps out the channel. Roll the intro. Starting off our top 10 in no particular order is Tesh, Ancestor's Apostle. For 3 and a white, it's a 2/2 bird cleric. He has flying. Whenever you cast a historic spell, return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, historic spells can be artifacts, legendaries, or sagas. What I have found with this deck is a lot of ETB triggers are great, and it's as if you have a Sun Titan entering or attacking each time you cast a historic spell, but just focused on the creature part, not a permanent. And this is very powerful. This deck can also be very budget friendly. I'll have a link to my budget deck in the top right corner of the video, but again, for 32 cents, you're looking for a steal of a deal for a commander. Odric Master Tactician is a favorite of mine and a very nostalgic commander for me. I built him as a soldier tribal and I loved it, but honestly you could build this however you want because he says, whenever Odric Master Tactician and at least 3 other creatures attack, you choose which creatures block this combat and how those creatures block. This means you can choose for your opponents to not block any of your creatures as long as you meet the requirement of your commander and 3 other creatures attacking. This is super powerful and annoying if your opponents don't have removal for him. And you too, for 83 cents, can be annoying and have a lot of fun making your opponents not block. Nobond, Dean of Iteration, for 1 and a blue, it's a 2/1 human wizard, legendary creature. If a wizard entering the battlefield under your control causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Now, Nobond is very similar to Panharmonicon, in fact, the exact same except specifically creatures and those creatures being wizards. Now, this is definitely going to be a wizard tribal deck and ETB focused, but for 35 cents, he is a must-have. First off, I have to ask, do you like the card Factor Fiction? Second thing I have to ask is, would you like to play Factor Fiction every time a Sphinx enters the battlefield? If you said yes to one of these questions, then I would highly recommend this tribal deck focused on Sphinxes rather than wizards. Sphinx spells cost you 2 less to cast. Whenever Unesh Cryosphinx or another Sphinx enters the battlefield under your control, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. An opponent separates those cards into 2 piles, put one into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Now, of course, Factor Fiction is dealing with 5 cards rather than 4, like our commander says, but we will have a huge amount of creatures on the battlefield and will also have a huge amount of card advantage. Just by playing normal magic, casting creatures, and it has a reduced cost. This deck is a lot of fun, and I'll also have a link to the top right of the video to this deck tech, which also happens to be a budget deck. Now, this commander is sitting at 59 cents, and I highly recommend you pick this one up. Gonti, Lord of Luxury, is another favorite of mine. Now, this deck is focused on getting your commander to ETB, enter the battlefield. And this was a fun and tricky commander to build, actually. If you didn't know, the color black in Magic the Gathering does not have many ways to get your creatures to enter the battlefield multiple times, unlike blue, which is very popular to cause that to happen. But you will mostly rely on artifacts to accomplish this ETB deck. It's a lot of fun and I really recommend it to anyone wanting to mess with your opponents. I say this because Gonti reads, when Gonti, Lord of Luxury, enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of target opponent's library. Exile one of them face down, put the rest on the bottom of that library in a random order. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may look at it, you may cast it, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast it. Coming in at 57 cents, this is a great commander to pick up. Now, I have noticed a theme here, but hang with me. This commander is also an ETB lover, but let me show you how. Surey reads, whenever a creature with power 1 or less is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may return that card. to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step if Surey, Shizo's caretaker, is still on the battlefield. The great thing for you is this occurs every end step, not just yours but your opponent's turn as well. It gets crazy and very abusive, so if your playgroup isn't like that, be careful playing this commander. For 28 cents this is a steal and you just need to pick this one up when you can. Feldon of the Third Path. Imagine playing a black commander deck, instead it's red and now you have this masterpiece. This is a mono red reanimator deck and Feldon reads, pay 2 and a red, tap, create a token that's a copy of target creature in your graveyard except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. The great thing is, Feldon's ability doesn't even exile our creature in our graveyard. In fact, the creature card is still in our graveyard. We only have a token of that creature. You can get ways to untap your commander and reuse the same creature or another creature. This deck is looking to discard and mill, which red doesn't have a problem with discarding. For 70 cents this is a great commander to change things up and play red. Neheb Dread Horde Champion for 2 and 2 red. Whenever Neheb Dread Horde Champion deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you may discard any number of cards. If you do, draw that many cards and add that much red mana. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. You know how red sucks in the card draw area? This commander is amazing to have it literally solve that problem through combat, which is pretty humorous but very on theme for red. If you have a mana problem, this card also fixes that. But for 50 cents, this is a great red card to have and even a great commander to build around. Have you ever heard of Vedalken Orrery or Leyline of Anticipation? If not, they are very popular cards and are more expensive than Yeva, Nature's Herald. The great thing about this deck is Yeva is Vedalken Orrery and Leyline Anticipation, but only for green creature spells. Now this isn't a problem if she's our commander, because we would be mono green. Let me read you what the card says. So Yeva, Nature's Herald for 2 and 2 green has flash, and you may cast green creature spells as though they had flash. For 81 cents, again this is just a great card to have or commander and I really recommend it for you. Last but not least is Settin Krause Protector for 3 green. He reads, tap an untapped druid you control, add green to your mana pool. Now you've probably heard of Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystic. They're popular and also known as mana dorks. This means they're usually cheap to cast and they tap for mana. This is going to be a druid tribal deck and now all your creatures are mana dorks. This mana can add up very quickly and make for a devastating game with cards like Overrun, Overwhelming Stampede, and then you'd make a bunch of your creatures on the battlefield huge. Coming up at 89 cents is a great commander to try for a mono green deck, and definitely a crazy and fun one to play. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the top 10 underrated commanders for under $1. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please leave a thumbs up and comment below your favorite commander. Again, there is merch available for purchase, and if you want any of these cards, please click the link below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.